Hi guys, it's Paula and I hope you are doing well. We are sitting at my table today, which is right next to the piano bench where I normally sit, and I have been itching to do this video and to do this activity. So I have all of my magnetic palettes and it is time to create my dream Pan That palette for 2022. I don't know if I'm going to be using this as my Pan That palette for 22, but if I had to choose today what I would pan for 2022, this would probably be my choice. Now usually what happens is the Fantastic Ladies announce their theme later on in the year, and usually I go with that. And whatever I thought I was going to pan prior to them announcing their theme ends up changing because I end up going with something that fits that theme. So I'm guessing that's what's going to happen again this year, but this is just kind of like a little fun exercise that I've been wanting to do for a long time now, maybe over a year, maybe a year and a half or 2 years, and I haven't had a chance to do it. So today's the day. The kids are at the pool with my husband and it's quiet in here. So every August or so, I like to post a video kind of fantasizing about what palettes I might choose from for Pan That palette the next year. And this video is kind of a preemptive to that, to create my perfect custom palette using my depotted shadows and other products. But after I create this palette, I will then go through and pull some other palettes to kind of discuss in my fantasy Pan That palette 2022 video. And then after that, the Fantastic Ladies will come out with their theme and I will abandon all these thoughts and pick something completely different. That's kind of how it goes. So if you would like to hang out with me while I play with my depotted makeup products and create a custom product, please stick around and hang out with me. That would be really awesome. I really wish you guys could see the mountain of crap that is on the table just outside of your line of sight. But here I have all of my magnetic palettes except for the little small 9-pan palette that I have in the bathroom right now. But these are all of my magnetic palettes. This pile right here are all face products, mostly blushes, but bronzers, highlighters, setting powders, and then this stack right here are all palettes with eyeshadows. So these are all of my eyeshadows, which is ridiculous. Now I did do a Pan That palette using a magnetic palette a few years ago, and although I loved doing that project, there were some other things going on that year that really restricted me from being my best panning self, and I'm going to completely blame a lot of this on the experiment. But basically at the same time that year I was also doing the experiment where I wanted to see if I could finish the eyeshadows and blush products in the time frame that they estimated I should be able to finish these products up within 1 year. And so rather than choosing a bunch of half-used products that I could have possibly or theoretically panned, I chose a bunch of brand new products for accurate measurements, and I made very little progress throughout the whole year. In the end, I didn't have a whole lot of fun, but I don't think I wasn't having fun because my Pan That palette was a magnetic palette. I think I wasn't having fun because of the experiment, and so I've been wanting a do-over ever since. That was in 2019. So I've been waiting patiently for the opportunity to do a magnetic palette again, and maybe 2022 will be that year. I mean, a girl can dream. So my first problem is that I do not have an open, empty magnetic palette just sitting around. So I am going to have to pull one of these palettes and empty it out. This is the magnetic palette I had for my Pan That palette 2 years ago. It's not the same shadows. It looks a lot different. I've moved stuff around. I didn't really finish anything, but I've moved some stuff around. And so I could just use this, but this is an extra large palette from this brand, and I don't think I want to go with the extra large. I think I'd like to go with something that's slightly smaller. So I don't know if you could see, but this yellow one is clearly smaller than the zebra print one behind it. So I would like to do something smaller. So I'm thinking this yellow one might be the one that I want to empty out and make a magnetic palette out of. So these are all basically all of my light shimmery or matte eyeshadows. So I'm gonna empty all these out and put them aside and get this palette ready to refill with my dream Panette palette for 2022. So hold on a sec and I will be right with you. Okay, that's about as clean as I can get it without using some other chemicals. I think there's some like sticky stuff that was still on some of the pans that stuck to the magnets, but whatever. Once it's filled, we're not gonna see any of that. I did have a couple of casualties. These two Tarte shadows were already extremely fragile, and just trying to remove them from this palette cracked them even more, so I'm going to have to repress them, but they were probably not going to go in this palette anyways, so that's okay. I will deal with that later. So what I want to do is start out with the bigger face products, and then we'll add in the eyeshadows at the end. What I envision this palette to be is basically a complete palette of all the face products I would need throughout the year, and I could just reach for this one palette for an entire face of powder makeup. So I do have a couple of setting powders. I don't have a huge amount of setting powders. Oh, there it is. Okay, they're all in here. So right now, I have this little guy that is a setting powder. It's just a matte kind of skin colored shadow. And then I have these two, which definitely are more than matte. This one and this one. Especially this Physicians Formula, it definitely has more of a sheen. This Victoria's Secret one is pretty matte. I actually think this Victoria's Secret one might make a pretty decent under eye setting powder. It's a little bit lighter. And this one would be more of an all over setting powder, like a whole face setting powder, because it's a little bit deeper. I don't know. I also think this stupid Victoria's Secret one is stuck in the pan too, so it's going to be hard to get that one out also. I really should take the time to remove the glue off of these pans before I put them in these palettes. Wow. I feel like I'm just going to break this Victoria's Secret one too. So I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to go ahead and put, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put this gigantic Physicians Formula one in, and maybe this one too. I don't know if I can handle both those. That might be too much. All right, we will see. Next, let's move on to bronzer. I have these bronzers right here. Plus this old Too Faced one. Plus this Physicians, I think this is Physicians Formula. Yeah, I could tell by how gigantic the pans are. So here are all of my bronzers right here. And I would love to pick this one. This is like my favorite bronzer ever. But more importantly, I would like to finish this Too Faced bronzer and get it out of my stash. So this is the one I'm gonna pick, because nothing would make me happier than to finish this and get it gone. Get it. Okay, next let's talk about highlight. I do have this highlight right here and this highlight right here. This one is from an old Tarte holiday palette. And this, I can't remember the brand that this came from, but I bought it off of Holt Look. But I think instead of either of those, the highlighter that I would put in is an old Revlon eyeshadow, which is this one right here. It already has a huge amount of pan. It's a big pan of eyeshadow. And I would like to finish this one off and oh my gosh, you can't even see it. There you go. I'd love to finish this off and get this pan out of my palette. So this would be used both as a face highlight and an eyeshadow highlight until it's gone. And last but not least, for the face, we have blush. And that's the category I have the most of. I have an absolute ton of blush that I have depotted over the years. I think I was joking with you guys at some point, I don't know if it was on YouTube or on Instagram, about making an entire palette of wonky shaped pans to pan them and get them out. And if we're doing that today, this one has to be the winner. That is the wonkiest shaped pan ever. It was part of a circle and I panned the other part already, so that's all I have left. But that is a very kind of nudie light shade that I would really only be able to wear in the winter time. So I need to pick something, another blush. I need to pick another blush. I have some really crazy blushes. Is this Max Melba? Yeah. Great shade. All right. If I'm looking at blushes that I could realistically finish, I think I would have to go with this one. I mean, it's pretty pigmented and bright, but there's not a whole lot of product left. It was originally in a different, smaller pan, and I repressed it into this pan when it broke. But yeah, that would be a good one to use up and get out. Look at how crazy this palette is looking. Oh my gosh, I want to pan it now. All right, so we're done with face products now. It is time to move on to eyeshadow. Let me take a look at this mess I have in front of me first and see if any of these would be perfect, the perfect candidate for this palette. I have a MAC shade right here. This is Nylon. I definitely bought this because of Jaclyn Hill, 100%, and I've never used it even once. So even though I already have this Revlon highlighter, I think Nylon would have to go in there as well for like the blindingly pop of color. The blinding pop of color. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. For the blinding pop of color. I do have some shadows up here. Oh, that's Urban Decay Vanilla. That's beautiful too. I don't need any more light highlights. This is what I was looking for. I think I'd like to pull in a couple of these indie shades right here. Oh, there's a nice fun wonky pan for my wonky pan collection. Look at this awesome black shade. Have you ever seen a pan that looked like that? We gotta add that one in, don't we? That's gotta go in my palette of wonky pans. All right, This is Nova from Looksy Beauty. I think it's just a metallic. I don't think it's a duochrome, but I would love for that to be in my Pan That palette. Along with this, I think this could be a really nice crease shade. This doesn't have a name. It's super old. Super, super, super old. Maybe from my first palette ever. For now, I'll leave this palette alone. All right, here are a bunch of shadows that were in my Pan That palette from 2019. This is ColourPop's Glass Bowl. Everybody raves about this shadow. I was never all that impressed with it. I mean, it was okay, but I didn't think it was as amazing as everybody kind of made it out to be. I think I would put this shimmery brown in. This is the last remaining shade from an All May trio that I bought years ago. And I think that could make a great like one shadow look. I also want to put in Whimsical. This pan is so beat up now. Yeah, this is Makeup Geek's Whimsical. It's one of their foiled shadows. It was in my Pan That palette from 2019, and if you saw the finale to my Pan That palette 2019, you already know this story, but I dropped this whole palette and a ton of shadows shattered all over my floor right here. It was shocking and very sad. So those two I would put in this palette. Okay, this palette is just a whole bunch of like dark. This is just all dark. And well, I mean, if we're looking at wonky shaped pans, I would have to put this light blue triangle in there, wouldn't I? There you go. Some of these shadows have really good dips in them. This silver shade right here is like more than half gone. Maybe I would put that one in. I don't wear enough silver, do I? None of us do we? Okay, I think I will stop there for now. This is a palette of mostly Makeup Geek shades. I would love to put this white palette, I would love to put this white shadow in that already has pan, but I think I'm good on light shimmery shades. But I think I would pull this shade, which is In the Spotlight from Makeup Geek. That is a stunner. I would also pull MAC's Woodwinked. I kind of want to put this greeny silver shade called Charmed in too. I am already running out of space, aren't I? And I need a couple more mattes in here. All right, I'll see if I can come back to Charmed. All right, so I have shimmery lid, all over lid, shimmery lid. I need some more mattes. I only have one like kind of matte crease shade. None of these really look like a good crease shade to me. This is kind of like my green and mauve palette. There's some fun, good shades in here, but I don't think any of these are really calling to me right now. This Tarte one is kind of calling to me for some reason. Look at that, that's pretty pigmented. I think this is, yeah, this is a duochrome from Looksy Beauty. I would swatch it, but it will never show up anyways, so why bother? it going, Paula. Oh, you know what I need is a brow shade, and I think it can come from this palette here. This is a lot of just boring browns, and I know that a lot of people would probably just declutter most of these, but one of the things that I've been saving these boring browns for is just a nice brow bone, or just a nice eyebrow powder. I actually think this one, this kind of taupey shade, jeez, would make a nice brow powder. What is this Mary Kay shade? I don't think the name's on the back anymore. No, that's a nice shade. Yeah, maybe I'd put this kind of mid-tone brown, kind of suntan shade in for a transition shade. Plus it meets my wonky pan requirement. And finally, I have my browns in kind of coppery shades. I love this palette. And I think I would have to go for like this orangey shade called Early Bird, which is a Makeup Geek shade. And do I have room for anything else? No, not really. I kind of want to put this shade in, this kind of, you can tell I'm thinking about fall. This is a Makeup Geek shadow also called, oh no, this is Looksy Beauty. This is called Amber. I think those two would go together really well. Okay, time to start moving stuff around and make room for this. I know it's in here. I know we can do it, guys. We just gotta make the space. Amidst all of these crazy, crazy pans of eyeshadow. Okay, that can stay there. Oh, I gotta get that one. All right, that looks pretty good. Transition shade, brow bone highlight, transition shade. Look at that. Look at how much room I made. At least I think I did. I think I'm done, you guys. OMG. Just because I can. I have this little small but deep eyeshadow. I think that came from a brand called Glam RX. I think I did it, you guys. That did not take long at all. I definitely have a little less space with this palette than I did with the other palette. You can see for size comparison that it's not much bigger, but it does offer a lot more square footage. But I think this would be my Pan That palette for 2022. I feel like this has a combination of just shades that I would love to use and would enjoy wearing, but also some pans that are half full and that I realistically think I could finish within a year, and also some wonky shape pans that I would just love to get out of my Z palettes, because wonky shape pans are the devil and they really screw up a layout of single eyeshadows or single face products. So that was my motivation behind all of these shadows. Now that I'm looking at this palette, I do feel like there's some similarities. So for example, this is a bronzer, this is an eyeshadow, but they basically look like they're the same color. And this Almay brown eyeshadow looks almost identical to Woodwinked. My hands are so dirty I can't even swatch them. Woodwinked is definitely a brighter, bronzier shade, whereas the Almay shadow is like a deeper, browner shade. Let me swatch the two matte browns, because honestly, if I'm just looking for a brown transition shade, I don't need an eyeshadow. If I have that bronzer, I could just use the bronzer. And for that matter, I could probably just use this eyeshadow as a bronzer, but I really want to finish this Too Faced one. I think I should take this Mary Kay one out and put something else in. The other thing, while I'm doing that, the other thing I am thinking is that my Pan That palette for this year, as you guys know, is the Viseart Petite Pro 2. And the 8 pans in that palette are all magnetic. And I was thinking that at the end of this year, assuming that I will not have completely panned that palette, which at this point, let's face it, that's what it's looking like, I can then throw in some of those shades into this palette and keep working on them. So that's what I was thinking about that. Should we go for like a deep purple or something? Is that what this palette is missing? I don't know if I really have a deep purple. Oh, that one's kind of a deep purple. Why not? Lord knows I already have enough purple, but yeah, I have enough purple in my 50 Shades of Purple, so I should not do a deep purple. Maybe this one. This was originally a sample eyeshadow. I think it came from Avon, so that's why it's such a tiny, shallow little pan. But it's like a kind of dusty gray plum shade. That would be good to get out. And that would leave a really good space for my Viseart shadows right there. Or I could totally add in Jester, or I mean, what's this one called again? Charmed. I don't know, you guys, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. I did it. I squoze it in. Ta-da! There. I think this is a palette with a little bit more diversity than the one I had 5 minutes ago. The only question is these two. Oh my gosh, I'm so dirty, I can't even swatch it. Oh my gosh, nylon is truly outstanding. Okay, here's my justification. I like a really blingy brow bone highlight, and this shade is not going to do it. I would need a separate shadow for my brow bone and my inner corner highlight. So I will use this one up as a face highlight, and this will be my inner corner highlight and brow bone highlight, because I need something super blinding, and the Revlon one isn't doing it. It's a more subtle like face highlight. So I'm gonna keep them both in. I think it's justified. But here is my proposed Pan That palette for 2021. No, 2022. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please look out for a potential Pan That palette video for 2022 coming up. I'm gonna go through my palettes and kind of do a video talking about what's speaking to me the most at this moment in time and what I would like to pan the most, and then plan for all that to get thrown out the window as soon as the Fantastic Ladies decide what their theme is gonna be for 2022. Sound good? Good. All right, you guys, that is it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.